Hello and welcome to 4000 and Counting. I am Watty, and today I am joined by, well, I say English Ice Hockey, formerly EIHA board member Daniel Smith. This interview has been in the pipeline for God knows, I don't know, probably about 18 months now. We finally managed to find a day, and it is New Year's Eve, so happy New Year to you all. Daniel, thanks for joining, mate. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks, Nikki. Like you say, it's been a long time coming. We know we've had a few back and forths, but it's good to be on and good to kind of share with your audience what we've been up to and where we're going to take things.
Yeah, my bad. I'm so shit with my phone. Like if it comes through to Facebook Messenger, mate, I miss it. But it's we finally did track it down. Obviously, I said you're a member, formerly the EIHA, now English Ice Hockey. Before we get into like how you get into the board and stuff like that, give us a little bit of background. Obviously, you played juniors, so you played a bit in the ENL2, ENL1, you played up in Blackburn as well. Tell the people a little bit about your background.
Yeah, so I first kind of became aware of ice hockey when I was playing it on the Mega Drive.
Oh
I
yeah.
had two games on the Mega Drive. There was Madden or ice hockey game. So I started playing that. I was playing as the Soviet Union all the time, beating teams 99-0 and all of that stuff. And then one day we had a knock at the door from Carl Graham and his dad selling raffle tickets for the then Bracknell Bumblebees. My dad got talking to his dad. And then next thing you know, I'm down at Stickham Park on a Saturday morning, giving it a go.
By the
Um,
way, for anyone that knows Scooter, I love that even when he was a kid, he had side hustles going on. Because if you know him as an adult, when I played with him in Bracknell, I might have even been the Isle of Wight. We're on the bus, and every week he had a side hustle, and we came down. I was like, "What's the side hustle this week?" And he'd set up like back in the day, do you know, like you ring the papers for the phone sex lines. He had these going. I'm like, "How do you even get into this?" He's like, "Well, I don't know. You just set up this premium number and you do this." And then the next week he would have a different one. But obviously now he runs a really successful business, doesn't he? He's a
yeah,
legend.
he's
Love
doing
him.
all right. He's doing all right. But yeah, went down to Stickham Park, fell in love with it, joined the Buzzers.
The buzzers, jeez.
Yeah, had a few years with the Buzzers. I think Jeff Greener was the coach at the
I'm
time.
just about to
Um,
ask you who was coaching because around about that sort of time, it had been when Danny Myers probably just left, just before Joe Greener and Adam came across to Basingstoke. So it'd been Jeff. I'm trying to think of some of the other coaches you would have had in the mix there.
we had Tony Milton as
Milks,
well.
yeah.
And obviously Jamie was there and he was tiny at the time. He was a couple of years below me. We had some good little players there. Joe was there, Jamie Carstairs,
Jimmy Carstairs,
Tom and
yeah.
Nets as well. He
I
was
suppose his brother was probably there as well, wasn't he? Harry would have
Yeah,
been
yeah,
there.
yeah.
Yeah.
He was a few years older. He used to kind of travel around with us. But yeah, I did the Buzzers, did the Bumblebees, did the Hummers, and then I had a year of 16s at Bracknell before I thought, right, my time here is done. And then I moved over to Slough. Moved over to Slough for last year of 16s. Again, good little team there. We had Sean Thompson, we had Simon Kinnett, Will
Yeah.
Sanderson in goal.
What
Um,
beauty Will is.
yeah,
And his brother as well. His brother's a beauty as well.
Yeah, he was in the 19s as well when I joined and had a year with him, my first year 19s. And then yeah, had 3 years at 19s at Slough. Played the odd game for the Jets I think it was my second and last year as 19s, which was good fun to kind of get that experience. And then I wanted to go up to uni. So I went up to uni, went up north. And then I played in Blackburn, played up north for 3 years, which was good to kind of get a bit of experience up north and
How was it
uh
for the southerner up north?
well yeah the Northern Monkeys Southern Fairies thing
Yeah, yeah.
came out quite a lot, but it's good. It was I kind of think it was a different sort of style of hockey. I think it felt a bit more sort of aggressive than down south. um
Was this, were you in Blackburn when I had my friend Bobby Haig? I know Bobby was in Blackburn for a while. Did that cross paths with your era?
Yeah, Blue Line Bob.
Yeah, Blue Line Bob, that sounds about right.
Yes, he was there. And yeah, it was good. It was a challenge being up there, because often going away on like a Sunday night, going up to Dundee, and so forth. And when you
Oh
got
yes,
uni
because
the next day.
it was a Northern League then. It wasn't as we know the NHL One North now where Blackburn play. So yeah, it was a Northern League. That's when you had those long road trips. How were they?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But it was good fun. They were a good bunch of boys, really good players, and I've followed Blackburn see how they're getting up to now. And it was good to kind of see them have their season where I think they went undefeated and just absolutely dominated. And I played with a few of those boys, like Aaron Davies. He was another Southerner that moved up north. I think he's their top point scorer now, real good lad. Ollie Lomax, he gets
Yeah.
a bit of a bad rap at times, but he's an absolute cracking lad. Plays with his heart on his sleeve. It was good fun. And then from there, moved back down south. And I was like, right, where can I play? What teams am I looking at? And
So where were you living at this point? Obviously, because you touched on being in Bracknell, you've been in Slough. Obviously, you move away to go to uni, but where's home? Where's the base?
Well, I'm born and bred in Reading. Now I kind of live just outside of Basingstoke, so kind of still in the area. And then yeah, when I moved back down, I was like, right, where do I want to play? So I had a look at Swindon, and I mean, like, as a former Bracknell player and a former Slough player, Swindon were always the old enemy, because in juniors you used to get pumped by them all the time. They had John Dewar. I remember him just racking up the points all the time, and they'd always win the league, and it was so annoying.
Mark Richardson would have been on that team.
Yeah.
And then I know you're a little bit younger, but my age group. Actually no, you're similar age.
I'm year below you.
Year below, yeah. So the year above me would have been like Lee Richardson, Russ Cowley.
Yeah.
Swindon were always stacked.
Yeah, always.
Always.
And it was juniors, it was so annoying. So I was like, oh, maybe I'll have a look at them. So I had a look at them, went down and just got on with the team really well. Ended up on first line with Jamie Newton and Ryan Burgess, and we put up some big numbers in our first season.
Yeah, you had 42 points that year.
Yeah, won the cup. We finished second in the league. And that whole team was just one of the best teams I've been involved in. Then from there, moved up to ENL1, different level of hockey.
So when you moved up then, because obviously we have no promotion relegation now, was promotion relegation a thing, or was it more like it franchised up, or did you had to go up because of the promotion relegation?
It was promotion relegation. So we had to go up. We were all happy to go up because we felt like we deserved it.
Yeah.
But we got a few. We beat Bracknell.
Well, the Hornets.
Yeah, the Hornets. Yeah, we beat them. They had a good little team. We picked up a few other scouts here and there, but then we also got tonked a few times by like the Invictors. But we're all there playing for the love of it. Whereas a lot of those boys, they're getting good deals and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it was good fun. It was good fun to be a part of. And then I kind of got to the end of the season, and it was just like with work and focusing on my career, I thought now's the time to hang them up and focus on my next thing in life.
So what did you study, and what is your career like outside of ice hockey?
Yeah, so I studied journalism up north at Central Lancashire, and so I kind of moved into multi-sport. So I worked in like major championships, so European Badminton Championships, Henley Regatta. Then I kind of worked on the Paralympic World Cup in the lead up to London 2012. And then I eventually found myself at Surrey Cricket. So I had a season with Surrey, touring with them home and away, before I ended up working in sailing for 11 years. So I worked at 5 Olympics in sailing. Went all around the world, did London, did Rio, did Tokyo, did all of that, the Youth Olympics as well. So I kind of really got a good background and insight into the world of international sport. But all the while, I kind of had my eye on thinking about how I could get back into ice hockey. And I thought,
for your sins.
Yeah, exactly. And I always had my eye on becoming a board member. Whether that would be of Ice Hockey UK or of England Ice Hockey, I always kind of wanted to have that as a goal of mine, because from my experience of working with governing bodies, when you're in a sport and you're in the board, that's where you can influence and make change. And that's kind of always been my mantra, my way of doing things. When I worked in sailing, I made a load of change with the way we broadcast the sport, the way we kind of promote the sport on social media. I'm now working at Motorsport UK. So the national governing body for four-wheeled motorsport in this country. And, you know, we make a lot of changes with the way we present the sport, the way we kind of create pathways into the sport. So it's kind of about using the experience I'd gained from my professional world, and then, yeah, for some reason, volunteer a lot of my time to the sport that I actually love, and try and give back the sort of technical skill sets that I've acquired in my career and apply that in ice hockey.
Okay, so obviously you're a NED, so for those that don't know, so non-executive director, and you're joined as a NED by Bruce Douglas and Duncan Hoff. Now, both of these boys are NEDs. What do we know about them? Because unlike yourself, they don't have a hockey background. Can you fill us in a little bit more about Bruce and Duncan?
Yeah, I think it's good for a board to have a wide mix of experience. You know, I sit on the board of Motorsport UK. I've sat on the board of World Sailing as well. So I'm kind of there as a staff member. And those boards have a good blend of people who know the sport inside out, but then also people who are passionate about sport, you know, passionate about ice hockey, not necessarily played in it, or passionate about the sports, whatever they are, ice hockey, motorsport, whatever. But they have like particular skill sets, whether that's in finance, management, administration, whatever it might be. So a board needs to have that blend of expertise, but then it also needs to have that ice hockey insight. So, you know, when we talk about Duncan, you know, Duncan, he's sat on boards before in triathlon. He's also done it on the international stage, working with the World Triathlon Federation as well. So he understands sport administration, he understands processes, and he understands, you know, how to work within governance and procedures to make change and to influence. And then when you think of,
what would you say to the people like myself who say they don't understand the sport? Like I don't care if you're great at putting numbers in a column. To me, I don't give a shit about that. I get that you need that. I totally get that you need that, but we'll get onto some of the finances and stuff in a bit. The way the money's been spent is unacceptable. So we're having these people that are coming in from outside that are supposed to be bringing in this change and stuff like that. But from the members' side of things and from the public perspective, is we're seeing a lot of money being wasted and a lot of empty promises, and yet not really a whole heap changing.
yeah, I get your point about people knowing the sport, but you know, it's like I said, you do need that balance. And you know, when we put it in the context of Duncan and with Bruce, they've got that management and expertise that enables those who understand the sport to effectively flourish. You know, you've got the Martin Peters, you've got the Adam Outres in there, you know, people who have been in the game years and years, you know, respected coaches, worked in junior pathways, worked with their respective teams up in Sheffield and Billingham and so forth. You know, those guys are on the areas within the organization that impact players, supports players. Those guys are focused on that. But when it comes to, you know, governance and rules and things like that, well, that's where a guy like Duncan, that's where his focus is on.
Yeah.
So, you know, you'd rather have someone who has that expertise,
100%.
focus on those areas. So that's kind of where you get that blend. And then when you look at Bruce, I mean, Bruce is he's an ex-Scotland international, 40 something caps, I think.
42 caps, I believe.
Yeah, so you know, he's a big boy, he knows what he's doing in sport, he gets it. But then also he's kind of got that sort of, again, that management, that consultancy experience behind him. And working with him, again, he's kind of the Duncan mold. He critiques strategic directions. He's very kind of good in understanding rules and procedures and so forth, and that's where you get that blend. So, you know, going back to my earlier point, you do need people who know the sport, which is what we've got, I think we could always do with a few more as well.
That's kind of what I was thinking. Looking at it, we've got people on that board that do know the sport, but it feels a little, I don't know if stale is the right word, but how do we go about getting someone like, I don't know. I'll just use a couple of names. I don't specifically mean these guys, but Jonathan Phillips, David Clark, Danny Myers. You see where I'm going with this. Chris McSorley, someone that used to be a GB coach. Matt Thompson, Dave Cloutman, referees that have done it at the highest level. You're talking, how many games has Clout's done? He's probably done like 5,000 games of ice hockey in the UK, which is mental. You go against those GB lads that I named. These are all smart boys as well. Like, it's not like they're thick as shit, like knuckle draggers and everything like that. There's some smart hockey players. You know, a lot of the boys, they've gone to uni, they've got degrees, they are smart. How do we get these boys involved in the board? Because, like you say, we do need more board members. We do need more people to be pulling on the rope. How do we get, let's say, more current top end guys? Because with no disrespect to Martin, Alan, or Mo, they're not that. They've had good junior careers. They've had good bits and pieces. I'm talking fucking studs. Like Danny Myers, stud, captain of Nottingham Panthers, winning back-to-back trophies year after year after year. David Clark becoming the top British point scorer in the Elite League ever. You know, Jonathan Phillips being the most successful GB captain in history. These are the guys I'm talking about. We want involved.
Yeah, I mean, you've seen Ice Hockey UK make similar moves.
Yeah.
Which is great to see. All of the board members are voted for by the members ultimately. Every AGM, people are up for nomination, people can put their names forward. It goes onto the website, it's shared with the members, and at the AGM, they vote for people in and out. So ultimately, it's up to people to put themselves forward. So if some of those names that you mentioned are interested or keen, then yeah, 100%.
Let's go.
Bring it on. And they've got, you get Danny Myers' name on there. I met Danny a couple of times within the last couple of years up at Ozone. Had a good chat with him.
Class facility, by the way.
Oh, it's awesome, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, don't you wish that was there when we were growing up?
Oh, unbelievable. We'd have been there, but we'd have been sick of the fucking sight of me. Do you know what I mean? Imagine being 15 and that's on, well, I'd say on your doorstep, but I was Basingstoke, Bracknell, it's not far. You'd have been there Fridays getting sessions in. Oh, no game Sunday. Okay, let's go over there.
Yeah.
It's we talk about pathways. That is a great pathway for development because you're not just going there to play a bit of 3-on-3. Danny and 4D and the rest of the crew down there are actually putting in some serious coaching. They're running Pep. They had the head guy of Pep come over. It's Connor McDavid's coach. He's coming over and coaching the kids. Like that's what we need. That's exceptional.
Yeah, that for me is a bit of a game changer. And I was actually talking to the chap from Zero Pucks Given about growing the game the other day. Yeah. And the way we grow the game, when you look at the numbers, so Liz and Val, they've done a sterling job over the last 20, 30 odd years.
3,000 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Val's been there forever.
And they've got all of the participation numbers going back to like the mid-90s. So you can really, really see how we're performing as a sport at a junior level. And there's a bit of a cap, to be honest. And I think the thing that would take this nation to the next level is obviously more pads or even more ice time. But when you think of what the guys are doing at Ozone, focusing on skill sets, focusing on your speed, focusing on your agility, and focusing on those elements that ultimately improve individuals' games, ultimately then benefits the team game as well.
100%.
So if you have a ton of Ozones popping up all over the country, well, then suddenly, you're not restricting yourself to the Swindons, the Sloughs, the Basingstokes, all of those people there in that catchment. Yeah. You're then going out to like the Leeds, the Sheffields, the Blackburns and so forth. And then you're kind of expanding that with the same sort of training and skill sets that kind of gets these kids up on the pathway. And that for me is kind of, that's where we need to be. That's what we need to do. Focus on the juniors.
Is that something that obviously you've seen it. I know GB have been down there, England have been down there, men's and ladies, boys and girls. Obviously, Danny's a GB Youth Olympics coach, so pretty much everyone's seen what Ozone's got to offer. Have the board gone back and had a discussion and said, look, this is fucking class. Like, this is the tits. This is awesome. How do we get more? Are you approaching people about funding? Are you picking Danny's brain saying, right, if we were to put this, and this over here, and we were to raise X amount of money, what do we need to do to make it work? Because we know that EIHA sit on some money. The bank accounts get published. We've seen it. We've seen some of the figures get shared and the annual summaries. There is money there, but obviously there's not a huge amount, like just chucking rinks out for fun. Is there conversations going on? How do we raise more money? Can we go and put these facilities out? You touched on there. Imagine you had one in between, I don't know, let's use the National League, for example. You got the kind of Yorkshire rivalry up there. You got Hull, Sheffield, Leeds, not too far. If you plonked one in the central sort of area, that, okay, you know at least those 3 clubs are going to that one. You then come down this way and you maybe stick one, I don't know, a bit more in the Midlands, Peterborough, Milton Keynes, Coventry, that sort of Solihull catchment. They'll all use that one. Scotland, you have Dundee, Fife, Aberdeen, one up there, just so that if you did that in 10 years' time, we'll be a Pool A nation at all levels.
Yeah, I think we as a nation, we need to be an established Pool A nation. It's where we deserve to be. You know, we have the fans, there's interest in the sport. You know, ice hockey is the most attended indoor sport in the country. And that kind of goes under the radar. That's hidden. Like, people should know about that. People should be going out to more games. We should get more people playing the game. You know, there's the Elite League publish their numbers every weekend on their Facebook.
Yep.
You know, there's 30 to 40,000 people playing,
Yep.
or not playing, sorry,
watching.
Yeah. And it's like, well,
it was over 1 million people last year.
Yeah, it's like, can we convert those people and their kids or whatever into players, whether that's at rec, whether that's at women's level, you know, whatever it might be. So I think there is a lot of work to be done on that kind of junior player pathway. But I'd say since I've been in the association, what we've always kind of lacked is a strategy and a structure. You know, yes, we've got some resources. Yes, we've got X, Y, and Z, but there's never anything that's kind of like, this is where we're going to be in 10 years' time. It's always been, oh, let's run a camp then because that'll be good. Let's get in England. Let's invite over Denmark and play some games. Let's do this. Everything's very reactive.
Yeah.
And it's not looking at, like, you know, the reason some of these other nations are so good is because they look beyond the here and now. And that's kind of why we've developed the strategy as a board to think, like, what does the future of our game in this country look like? What do we need to be focusing on, and what do we need to be putting all of our efforts in? And that's kind of what you see is what you get with the strategy. Is kind of those 4 pillars with the various work streams.
So for those that haven't seen, obviously was English Ice Hockey Association, now English Ice Hockey, new logo, new brand, and there's these pillars. So for those that haven't seen it, talk to us about the pillars.
Yep. So I mean, I kind of go from the start. We've got our vision, we've got our mission. You know, a nation enjoy memorable experiences in ice hockey through participation, performing to their best of abilities, and making continued progression. And then from there, you kind of move into the mission, what we want to do as an association, and that's to create an environment that improves the sport for existing members, but also welcomes new members, coaches, players, volunteers, and officials into the community. And we provide them with a framework and partnerships to develop their talent that enables them to excel. Now, with regards to our purpose and ambition, yes, we've got 4 strategic pillars that will all kind of be underpinned by operational frameworks. So you've got participate, you've got progress, you've got perform, and you've got partner. So participate is effectively there to kind of grow and develop the sport at large, focus on the people we have in the community, develop structured programs and so forth that enables people to excel.
So
Then
what at the moment would you say that the board and the association do right, and what do they do wrong when it comes to trying to get new people on board? Sorry, these glasses are doing my head in the reflect.
yeah, yeah, I mean, it's an interesting question because I don't necessarily think an awful lot is done to bring new people into the sport.
I mean, I've seen fuck all, let's put it that way.
Yeah, and which is partly
Don't get me
why,
wrong, I've seen like local clubs go out and be like,
yeah,
hey, we need 10 91 borns, 10 2004s, we need whatever. 91, Jesus. Then every fucking 40-year-old. We obviously we need clubs doing that at their own at their own kind of will, doing it to try and get people in, learn to play stick and puck and all that.
yeah,
But we lack any sort of board level or association level going out there and perhaps running ads or putting on workshops or setting up school programs, whatever it is, using their name as England to be able to write to schools in Hampshire and say, by the way, did you know we have this ice rink, this ice rink, this ice rink here? Can we put something out to your students that says, hey, look, GB are going to be playing the World Championships in 2 weeks. It's free on TV if you've never seen it. Check it out. And if you enjoy it, tell you what, come down and skate for free, your first session and wherever. And we just try and get people in that way.
Mate, I completely agree with you. 100% agree with you because again, when I was chatting to the guy from Zero Pucks Given, all of the people all the kids who are in the sport now, their mums or dads, they used to play the game.
Yeah.
And that is kind of our pathway, if you will, to keep people in the sport. But that's not a sustainable pathway.
Well, because all you need the birth rate to drop over 10 years and your entire program's screwed.
Yeah, or you need to have another kid, Nicky.
Yeah, no, have to get a line going.
Exactly.
But obviously Brody will probably play. Like he's running around the house already shooting pucks and he's 17 months old. Like,
yeah,
Laura Rabbit just says he's going to play. But like you say, what if he doesn't? What if he decides, fuck it, I'm quite, because he's going to play golf, he's going to do boxing, he's going to do all that. If he gets to 10 and goes, yeah, that ice hockey thing was fun, because I had mates that were good, and then they got to 13, and then, do you know what? They were better at football, so they went and played football, or they were shit hot at boxing, and they went and fought in the English schoolboys and stuff. But at 13, 14, they were conference players. Like, they were good players, but we lose them because, again, we go to the next level. Once these boys turn senior, there's no fucking money unless you're Dowdy or Ben O'Connor or Ben Bounds. We can count on both our hands how many boys are getting actually paid.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. Like, we need to make it where you can come and be a professional athlete from Great Britain and pay your mortgage and live nicely. That would be great.
Yeah, and I think when you look at the strategy, that's effectively what we're seeking to do. When you talk about bringing people into the sport, we haven't really been doing that. There is no outreach program. People get into the sport by their mums, their dads, by word of mouth, and that's kind of it. So I think, if I pulled up the strategy, one of the things we need to do is work with the clubs, work with their programs and say, well, how can we throw the England ice hockey brand behind you to boost your participation numbers?
Yeah.
How can we support you through funding? If you want to do a stick and puck session, getting people on the ice with a stick in their hand, a helmet on their head, and just giving it a go. And that's one thing that, we know that they're out there. We just need to kind of draw those relationships closer, understand what they're doing. And ultimately, if you get success at that sort of stick and puck level, then that's going to feed the teams. And if it's feeding the teams, then, that's bringing in more income to the system, your quality of coaching improves, and it kind of goes on from there. So, yeah, 100%. One of the things that we will be focusing on is kind of that, working with the club programs to ultimately increase participation. And it's all good and well us kind of saying, yeah, we're going to do this. We can say we're going to do it, but what does success look like? You know, what is good? Because, you know, I'm sure there are a handful of people that could tell you the actual number of players that are playing this game in this country, because it's all hidden. It's all behind, it's all in spreadsheets. So part of the strategy is getting these numbers, getting these figures out there so people can hold our feet to the fire, and, you know, we're held accountable. And that's ultimately where I think, you know, there might have been a layer of kind of distrust to the board in the past because things weren't necessarily kind of well documented and publicized as they could be. But
I
again,
think one of the issues, Dan, and I say one of the issues, it's a huge issue. It's always had that them and us feel. And it's going to take a lot of correcting to sort that out. But it's always felt like them and us, even though you're a members board, like you're a members board, they can be gone tomorrow, realistically. But it always had that kind of divide. And don't get me wrong, I think a lot of that is EIHA made some dumb mistakes like over the last few years. And when they don't get rectified, people are pissed off. And then even for the good things that they end up doing, people can't see the wood for the trees because they're still fucking raging.
no, it's a good point. You know, there is a lot of good stuff going on. There's a lot of good stuff going on. You know, the Mighty Might session that was up in Sheffield yesterday, you know, great numbers of participation. You know, Martin did an awesome job at getting that going with the rest of the team. And those are good success stories.
Yeah, that's great. That's what we love.
Yeah, but because there's other items out there that are out for debate and so forth, you know, that's where you kind of get that level of discontent, if you will. But I think what, you know, now that we have this strategic direction, hopefully people read it, understand it, they have a look through the website. You know, the board are all on there, they're all listed with their backgrounds. It's easier to contact, it's easier to kind of explore and find more out about the sport. You know, you've got a system that's there that's kind of, all right, if you're coming into the sport for the first time, you're no longer behind this lack of anything resourceful or, you know, any sort of decent information there that kind of explains things. There's a lot of stuff there that educates you. So I think that was, again, when you talk about pathways, when people are looking to get into a sport, naturally you'll go to a governing body's website. You know, my daughters are getting into swimming, and I have a look on British Swimming's website, and it looks good, it feels good. Whereas if people getting into ice hockey, you go on the website. Now you go on our website, it looks good, it feels good, we've got a good brand behind it.
Okay, so this website is a lot better than the one they had last year, maybe the year before.
Yeah.
But we talked about figures coming out, and obviously we put a YouTube video out. You guys released the figures, £86,000 on a website. I don't know what the clarification is on that and how they spent fucking £86,000 on a website, but from having a rough idea about how much this one costs to put together and how much better it is, and like you say, you can click on it. It's, hey, here's what Duncan did. Click here, read more about him. It is very interactive. It's a much better website. Can you talk us through the figures, how £86,000 went? Obviously, we had Sportle, that fiasco as well, where money was just getting pissed up the wall. I'll let you kind of take the floor with this.
Yeah, that figure that was in it was on the accounts on Companies House. So that is inclusive of the Sportle. It's not entirely on website development. It's just the way in which things are coded. So in my professional world, I have a lot of experience in sport management systems, if you will. And there are loads out there that have different funding models, whatever it might be. And the board at the time selected Sportle. It was used in Canada. It came highly recommended by Hockey Canada. Obviously, Fixtures Live was coming to an end. The board, when I joined the board, it was something that we had inherited, because I think, well, when I joined, there was just Andrew, Travis, and Joy at the time. It was in a transition, and a couple of others. And it was at that point where, they just found out about Fixtures Live, I believe. because the other board, the board prior, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I don't know, so I'm not going to comment on that too much. So Fixtures Live was coming to an end, so we needed a solution. Fixtures Live had been customized so much over the years that it was, it was fit for purpose, but it was not fit for purpose for Fixtures Live anymore and didn't make any sense for their business. So we got Sportal. A lot of development time went into it, a lot of work, but there came a point where it just it wasn't doing what we needed it to do. So we then made a decision to switch providers, to go to Game Day, who are they work with a lot of other sports in the UK and worldwide, and they've been great actually over the last few months in getting us a system together and getting something in place that will kind of get us going for the next 10 years and beyond with a bit of luck. It's not, sports management systems aren't something that they don't happen overnight, they take time to develop, they take time to build. Although they're off the shelf products, there is a level of customization that has to go into things. And yeah, with Game Day, we're getting to a point where the clubs have all the sign-ins, they have everything they need, and now we just need them to start using it, start populating. So when you go to our website and you click on the leagues, we've got all of the league tables and all of the information there. Because we're kind of getting to that point.
Have a look where it kind of stands now. So you go to leagues, you say, let's go National League.
You go to leagues and yeah.
Right, let's click National League. And what have we got? We got fixtures right there, Saturday, the 6th of January. You've got the fixtures there. You click on it, you got a match center. If you click on the match center, obviously it's not going to do anything right now, but there's selected teams, match reports, play-by-plays. So ideally, if this was to work and everything is running well, it looks like it could work very nicely. Then you've got a secondary tab, club websites, Altrincham Aces, the development club, Basingstoke, Cardiff, etc. So that's good. And then you can sign in via the Game Day there. What would you say to, I've saw a couple of comments this week, and I imagine if this ends up running the way you think it will, this will probably negate my question. But, like you go on NHL.com right now, I can see exactly, well, I can't even use the Elite League. If you go on the Elite League website, it's got up-to-date scores, 1-1 Cardiff, Nottingham, second period, this many shots, this many whatevers. Could we see something like that in the National? Because at the end of the day, we're talking it is the second highest league in the UK. It is the highest league within the English Ice Hockey Association, or the Ice Hockey England, whatever you want to call it. Do you think we'll get to a stage where we have that, where you can just click on and it's a one-stop shop?
That would be the dream. It's something that if we talk to Game Day and see what tools they have in the cupboard, it's something we can utilize them 100%. Because people want data, they want to see scores, they want to see updates.
Well, I have to go to Twitter, right? And then I'll be like, right, Sheffield Steel Dogs, click on there. Well, they've got them. Or Bristol Pitbulls. Whereas by the time you've done that and you've got through, you're having to go to 5 different sources where for traffic wise and potential advertising on the website or doing whatever, if that's your website, then, or your Twitter feed, your social, everybody's coming to, like, if you're looking for NHL results, you go to NHL.com. You're not going to go to like TSN.com or something. You might stumble across them there, but most of you are going to go to NHL.com. You're going to be like, okay, Tampa, Vegas, here we go. Dallas, Buffalo. It's all there.
Yeah. And like I said, that's where we want to get to, because in my experience of working with in other sports, people always go to results. The results pages are always the most popular pages by a country mile.
Oh yeah.
We've got everything plugged into our Google Analytics now, so we know the traffic that we're receiving to our website. We get thousands of visitors on a daily basis, so we kind of know where we're at. You get the league tables populating, yeah, and you talk about commercialization. 100%. It'd be great advertising. It'd be a great spot for a hockey retailer or a manufacturer, whoever it might be, to advertise, because you're getting eyeballs. You're getting eyeballs of players. You're getting eyeballs of fans.
That's why Haringey's so busy, because I talked to Lee Mercer about it. Obviously, Haringey Huskies come up on the Alexandra Palace homepage.
Yeah.
That place has fucking thousands and thousands of hits every single day.
Yep.
Like 50,000 hits on their website a day. Haringey Huskies, right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why they got 1,000 people watching ENL2.
Yeah. You get things like that, and then it goes a long way. The marketing, the promotion, and that's obviously my background in my day job. I'm marketing and comms director at Motorsport UK. So if I can once we've kind of got through this stage of launching the strategy, launching the website, launching the new brand, then yeah, next level is to think, okay, well, we've got the brand, we brought the brand to life on social, we brought the brand to life on the website. How can we make money out of this? How can we monetize what we're doing and then get that back into the game?
And that's the important thing. It does have to go straight back into that game and help us grow. That kind of leads me next on to, we touched about like how do we get to where we want to go. We've got to sort out these one-sided junior scorelines. We've got to have the teams, the best teams playing the best teams, the middle kind of teams playing against each other and the worst teams playing against each other. So ultimately we should get more competitive games. That's one thing that we have to do. Junior Showcase, obviously first year, kind of switching it from conference last year. I spoke to some of the lads that played in it. They said the standard was shit. And that's boys that are playing in it. Obviously they're playing NIHL 1, some playing national. And they said it wasn't good and it needs work. How do we go about reducing the gaps in junior games? I mean, this has been something you play juniors here. It's been happening forever. Like you say, you go run into Swindon and John Deere's fucking having a hot day and scores 9 goals and you lose 9-1. There's not really a lot you can do about it. But we want to see more 4-3 games, 2-1 games. See, I watched Berlin under-20s when I was there, and I watched Brno versus Kladno under-20s when I was in Czech. Every shift's tight. It's like a conference game, but that's their club hockey. Guess what? Those boys are going to get so much better than if one of them just run in and dummy the other one 12-1. Like, no one's learning anything. Even the good players, they're not getting anything out of it. The lesser players, they're getting less out of it. Like, if you're a lesser player on a lesser team, and you're getting a 12 spot put on you, you're probably not going to touch a fucking puck. You might not touch a puck in it for 60 minutes.
Yeah.
So how do we go about reducing the gap, and how do we go about making sure a showcase is really a showcase? It is the best players. It's not whose face fits, and we ultimately get competitive hockey throughout the year, and then we finish the year with a really highly competitive showcase.
Yeah, I think touching on the showcase first, obviously, that was it with Martin Peters, who's he's well versed in conference showcase, whatever you want to call it, and I know he'll be working on that. I remember the days of Southeast, Southwest, Midlands, North, and
Bring it back.
Scotland.
Bring it back.
And it was great the way that you develop players on a Friday night 2 a.m. Haringey for trials, or wherever you might be. That was the way the team kind of got together, the way the team bonded, and how you kind of got to it was hot on the ice when you played against them, but it was kind of good. It was good for your development to play with them and grow with them. And I think that helped sort of levels of competitiveness as well in league hockey. So if I was speaking personally, I'd love to see the return of that sort of conference style.
Me too.
Because that's what I grew up with. That's what I know.
And obviously you played for Slough, so I would have loved to have hated you. Do you know what I mean? Southwest, Southeast, like Midlands, North. There was a genuine like, oh well, we beat them last year. We won the trophy. They're gonna want to kill us this year.
Yeah.
But you better be ready. Like, these boys are coming hard. And then you would get wicked games of hockey because there was this a genuine like rivalry. Southeast, Southwest. Fucking hell, we hated each other.
Yeah. It was great for it. It was really, really great for it. So yeah, I mean, personally, I'd love to see that back.
Well, but I know from last year they had guys from the same club playing on opposite teams at the showcase.
Yeah, because of the draft system.
Yeah, and guess what? Am I going to run my teammate? No, I'm not. So that makes the game a little bit less competitive. Like, that has to, in my opinion, that has to stop. We need to bring back that. You watch a showcase in North America, oof,
Yeah,
different. It's very different, and it's intense, and it's fast, and it's hard, and it's physical, and everybody's playing for a couple of spots. Let's face it. At these
yeah.
showcases, everyone's playing for a couple of spots. Let's make it like that.
Yep. No, I mean, like I said, I love the days of the old conference system. It's one that I know Martin's taking a close look at. So it's in good hands for the future. And then also when you think about that sort of gap at a junior level, I mean, we're kind of touching on it earlier. If you're able to expand that sort of ozone
Yeah,
model where you've got those small-sided rinks where you get the intensity, and if it's 3-on-3, those
wait,
that size of pad,
bloody hard, by the way. We played this tournament down there. Woo!
yeah, they're going to touch the puck, aren't they? And
Yeah,
that's what they want. They want to touch the puck. They want to get a shot off. If you're playing enough 3-on-3 and a pad like that, chances are you're going to get a goal.
yeah, of course, yeah,
And
yeah,
that means a lot. I remember my first goal against
yeah.
Oxford in under 10s. It was terrible.
Hey,
But
they don't ask how many.
and yeah, like somehow it went in. I still got the puck to this day. But that's the sort of thing that actually means a lot, and that's the sort of thing that like will keep these kids in the game because it's intense, it's fun, it's exciting. And yeah, that's one of the things I'd like to see. But we obviously need to keep developing these kids, the ones that, if they're on the receiving end of a high score, well, how can we keep this game fun for them, and how can we, you know, bridge that gap, improve their levels of game? How can we support them to kind of get up to the next level and so forth? Yeah, it's work in motion, but again, having that strategy, saying this is what we're going to do about it. This is on our pathway, and we're going to do something about it thereafter.
One of the things that well, I haven't briefed you on it or anything, it just popped into my head. I said this would happen. So obviously we sadly lost Adam Johnson this year. Next day it was like, are the games going to go ahead? Are they not? In my opinion, I think the EIHA dropped a bollock at the time by not coming out and just going, "Yo, right, this is it, no games." Instead, it went out to clubs, and then we had Planet Ice trying to make clubs pay 650 quid if they weren't going to play. Do you think the EIHA got that wrong by not coming out and just the morning of just going to all the members, yo, no one's playing hockey today. Like, go hug your loved ones, go fucking down the pub with your mate, go do whatever you need to do to process what just happened. I thought by letting the clubs kind of make their own minds up, it made a bit of a fiasco out of it. I was getting text messages from players from leagues all over the country. What? I don't want to fucking play today. I don't want to go on the ice. My missus says I'm not playing today. Or like my son saw that. He doesn't want me to go to the game today. And then they were kind of getting forced to be like, well, I guess I'll go because I'm not going to let my teammate down. And then eventually, calmer head prevailed, and most of the game, I think all games ended up getting called off. Do you think the IHA messed that up?
I think it's one of those, like you said, calmer heads needed to prevail. But I can see both sides to it. I can see both sides to it from a sports administration perspective, but then also from a compassionate side of things. When I heard the news and hear about it, you hear the details. I mean, it was harrowing. And when you played the game, you shouldn't need to worry about anything like
No.
that. But it was absolutely tragic. And even talking about it now, like you still think, oh my God, like
Yeah.
this could have happened to me. It could have happened to
Anyone? Yeah.
one of your boys.
Yeah.
It's absolutely devastating. Um, so from a compassionate side of things, yeah, probably one that karma has needed to prevail. But from an administration side of things, we didn't know the situation within clubs. We didn't know situations with ice rinks and with the um, costings and so forth.
Yeah.
We didn't know all of those details because we're not in those details like all of the clubs are.
Yeah.
So, there is a sense of we just got to work on this together, guys. Which I think in the end, calmer heads all around did prevail. And yeah, I know the whole hockey community did pay their respects. And yeah, it was all quite fitting for a cracking player. And, 47 being retired up in Nottingham as well is a great way to, not a great way, but a nice fitting memorial.
Yeah, obviously it's been a tough year for deaths. I put a post out today, but I don't want to kind of go down that route. I want to stick to where we are. Obviously, you said like you're not knowing about clubs and the deals and stuff like that. Here's something that just popped into my head. Never thought about it before. Do you guys have a database of what each junior club pay per hour ice time and what they then pay for game ice on a weekend? And are you also privy to the information of how much these clubs are paying referees for under 10s, under 16s, 19s? Is it 19s now? God, so fucking old, Jesus Christ. Don't know if it's 18s, 19s, or 20s anymore. 18s, right? Yeah. So those guys, ENL2, all the way up to National League. It'd be interesting to see if you guys know, because obviously I've done a lot of research. We're going to talk about a little bit about what 4,000 Count are going to do with the junior tournaments next year. And the range of prices per hour on ice is astounding. Like what Basingstoke get charged versus what Chelmsford get charged versus what Cambridge get charged versus what Aberdeen charge. You're talking it's like 160 quid an hour difference in some cases. So if you put well, you go 10s, 12s, 14s, 16s, 18s, 5 hours ice time, that could be the difference between one junior club paying like 800 quid extra for the same 5 hours of ice. Like, how do we then go full circle, getting these new participants in? You know the old Kevin Bridges sketch where he said, "I start a new hobby. I need a fucking fiver and a Lucozade." If you start a new hobby and you're from Basingstoke and you want to join the junior club, it's going to be, I don't know, 100 quid registration, then 140 quid a month, and then a game day fee. If this is a kid's parent that's only ever played football and he needed studs, a pair of socks, and a Powerade, and maybe 4 quid for the pitch fee, they'd be like, "What are you talking about? Oh yeah, you then need the stick that's 200 quid and a kit that's about £1,000." Like,
Yeah.
how? Sorry, that was a bit all over the place, but it's all the kind of questions that are in my head.
Yeah, there might be a database, but
If not, we need one.
It's not something that I've kind of kept tabs on. I know that some members booking the ice and so forth have a good idea, but personally, I don't know. But it would be a good thing to have, just kind of the cost to play. This is what you're looking at here. This is what you're looking at there. So that's one thing that you'd kind of need to have a look at, I guess. And what was the other part of the question?
Oh, I don't know, mate. I had an ADHD fucking meltdown. My brain just checked out. It just started doing its own thing. No, I was saying, like, how would you then? I know Basingstoke's an extremely expensive club, and that's through no fault of their own. The fact that they're doing it in a building that's fallen down is a disgrace. But that versus, so how Aberdeen work it, their senior club, boys don't really get paid, but they sell that barn out.
Yeah.
But what they do, that money then goes into subsidize some of the junior costs, and they pay a very, very, very cheap rate. And it's an exceptional method that they've used. And with that, it's allowed their junior program to flourish, and they're doing well at the higher age groups in juniors and things like that. They're starting to see the benefit of it. Again, that's going to go full circle because those kids will then go and play for the Lynx, and they'll raise money for the next crop of kids that are under 12s, 14s now. Their ice time remains cheaper. Basingstoke, on the other hand, I'm just using these two clubs because they're the opposite end of the spectrum. It is like 140 quid for your training, and it's just so expensive. How do we get kids involved in the higher expensive areas that are perhaps not everyone's parents making 60 grand, 80 grand, 100 grand? There is genuine parents out there that are making 15, 20 grand a year that they're trying to make ends meet, but like you, they got the fucking Mega Drive out, and now all of a sudden they want to go and have a go at hockey, and then mum and dad walk in the rink and they go, "Before your son or daughter hits a puck, it's going to cost you the best part of 1,200 quid."
Yeah, it's a tricky one because every club, every ring's business model is different, and it has to work for them. And then unless you've got deep personal pockets, At the very least, clubs and rinks have to break even. The rinks are commercial operators with shareholders, so they're going to want to make a profit. So there are probably some areas where they can charge premium because they know it's going to be used because it's more of an affluent area, and areas where well, they've got to knock their prices down because of cheaper running costs or whatever it might be. So there's no kind of one size fits all way of operating the sport in the UK, but that's sort of the same for every sport that I've been involved in. I know in motorsport some of the circuits have incredibly high prices because the demand is there. People
Yeah,
want to do track days. People want to race there because it's a Silverstone, it's a Brands
Brands
Hatch, it's a
Hatch. Yeah,
Donington. It's
yeah.
like these are places I want to be. So commercial operators, they do charge a little bit extra, whatever it might be, in comparison to others. So yeah, I mean, us as an association, I think we have a role to kind of work with the rinks, work with the clubs, and just try and get the best deal and best out of it that we can possibly get, for not only our events but for club events as well. But then again, we've spoken about this before, but using England ice hockey as a brand, how can we get more funding? How can we leverage Sport England funding? How can we levy and lobby government officials and MPs to get them to come down to do stuff? Are there other ways we can get revenues and so forth to always put back into the game? And that's something that it keeps coming back to having that strategy and saying like, this is what we're going to do, and then putting the meat to the bones behind it thereafter.
So obviously you touched on going to Sport England, lottery funding and things like that. Do you think that the fact that we are still three governing bodies within Great Britain, that is an issue? Because that is notoriously been the kind of the the elephant in the room, so to speak. Like, everybody's said, well, we're not getting the funding we should get because you have Ice Hockey UK doing GB and the referees, then you have English ice hockey doing the juniors and the national, and then you have Scottish ice hockey doing Scotland and the Scotland juniors.
Yeah.
And it's like, who gets the money? Who deserves it more? Does the national team deserve it more? Do they get more of the funding, or do the juniors deserve it more because we need to put more money into that, or should it go to Scotland more? Like, how does it work? As opposed to being like, if we were all one body, they go, okay, well, we give them £2 million and they can divvy it up however they want.
Yeah,
How?
I mean, when it was a few years ago now, where the potential merger was on the table. I mean,
Yeah.
from someone who was outside of that at the time, I was pro merger. I was like, that's got to be done. I want to see that done because it's going to be for the good of the game. Top to the bottom of the country, we know what's what, and we know where we're at. Obviously, it's something that goes to the membership, and it's something the members voted against. So we are where we are, and it's not something that's going to be brought back onto the table anytime soon. So we will
No, I don't think
remain
so.
as those three bodies. But from what I've seen since I've been involved in the various leaderships within Ice Hockey UK and Scottish Ice Hockey, there's a lot of collaboration, and there's been a lot of relationship building there. I think Clifton, he's got a vision over at Ice Hockey UK,
I
and
like Clifton.
I like him as well. He knows his stuff. He's obviously put a CEO in place as well. The board is growing with some senior officials as well. So there's some good people involved there. But in terms of how the sport is governed, it's clearer than you think, because Ice Hockey UK national team referees,
Yeah.
international transfers, that's their bag. It's pretty crystal clear. They're funded through a variety of streams, membership fees from us. And they've also unlocked funding from UK Sport for Olympic as well. We're obviously hosting, was it next year? We're hosting the qualifiers down in Cardiff.
Cardiff, yeah, in about 6 weeks here. 8th,
Yeah,
9th, 8th to the 11th of February down in Cardiff.
yeah.
Get your tickets, folks. Come see me. I'll be there. I'll be podcasting. Hopefully, us going on to the next qualification round. Anything less than that is a failure in that group, I would say.
Oh, you 100%. You know, we need to get to the games, but you know, and the strategy that we produced, it was shared with Clifton before it was published. He kindly, full credit to him, he went through it with a fine-tooth comb.
Good.
Even identified a couple of typos, which for a gentleman of his stature is actually quite it's, you know, it kind of shows the manner of the man in the sense that he's really in on the details. And it was kind of the feedback that we received was like just making sure we've got the right level of separation and there's no standing on each other's toes. We want to ensure when you look at coaches, we've got enough level 1 and enough level 2 to feed them the level 3 for them to develop. We want to make sure that we've got enough players coming through the pathway. So when it comes to the national team, they've got the players. You know, there was obviously that relationship the other week with GB16s and England under 13s where they were training together.
Yeah.
So it's about working together. And I think we've kind of got to a point where we know the levels, we know where we're at, and we're starting to work together quite closely. But it's been a relationship, I think, that you know, years gone by, it might have been fractured, it might have been strong. I can't necessarily comment, but we're working hard on just ensuring we're building the trust, building the relationship. So ultimately it benefits hockey in the UK. And that model where you've got a GB or a UK NGB at the top with home nation bodies underneath, that is one of those things that is quite prevalent within UK sport. You know, I also volunteer and sit on England Boxing's communications subcommittee, and they have a GB boxing. When you look at basketball, you've got England basketball, but then you've got GB basketball. So it's kind of, you know, when I think of boxing, again, they're focused solely on the Olympic side, the national team, you know, getting the Anthony Joshua's through the door, the you know, the Boatsis, the Okolis and so forth, getting them through the program and getting golds, and spitting them out into the pro game. Whereas the England side of things is all about getting those youngsters in the sport early doors, ultimately feeding the GB system at the end of it.
Yeah. I mean, I think it works very well in boxing. I'm yet to see it really working as well as it should in ice hockey, but I mean, hopefully with the new strategies and stuff like that, we will see that happen in the future. Going on more of like the strategy and the pillars. What's the kind of next step? We're in the middle of kind of announcing it now. We're kind of putting it out there to the world. But what's the next step? How do we start implementing some of the plans and ideas that we have?
Yeah, so well, it's out there. It was best part of 18, 24 months in the making. It wasn't one of these things where, you know, there's all this attention on DOPS, there's all this attention on game day. It wasn't something that was kind of produced to quieten things down. It's been a long time in the making. You know, and I wanted to get it launched sooner, but we got it launched when we did because we finally got everything done. And why hide a good thing when it's going to be game changing for us?
Yeah.
So we've got it out there. It's been shared. We've had some good feedback. Obviously, you know, speaking to as many people as possible. Next kind of steps is to sit down as a board and prioritize and think about, okay, well, we've got this out in the open now. What are the key things that we need to focus on that we can report back on at the next AGM? You know, obviously, when I think of things from my side, with a marketing and comms head on, I want to think about the way in which we engage with the media, the way we use social media, the way we could potentially commercialize what we're doing as well. But then
Well, the
they're
fact
all
that it's taken this long for someone from Ice Hockey UK to come on to arguably the biggest podcast in the UK, not Ice Hockey UK, EIHA, is nuts. And this is, I think, a lot of the problem. We go back to us and them. It's just like if we don't say anything, people are just like they'll just leave us alone. Well, no, if you look at some of the posts, I think I'm trying to find it now. Sorry if you're listening and watching along. This might take a couple of minutes. Let me find it here. We put a post out the other day, and this is what I want to know. Like, do the board read this? Do they? Don't get me wrong, some of the shit you get on the internet is absolutely nonsense, and you got to take it with a pinch of salt. But I wonder if the board actually read what the members, the fans, and the people actually feel, because the post we put out was basically, what would you like to see change? And God, we've posted a lot of stuff on Facebook, so sorry. I'm just trying to find it right now.
I know the one you're on about.
But
Who's
like
like,
the comments in it, I just, that's what I want to know. Like, if they've read through it and take anything on board, or there's been some good ideas put out there. God, okay, here we go. So actually, it had nearly 100 comments on it. I said, if you could change one thing about UK hockey this season, what would it be and why? Now, the bulk of the comments, if I can find them here, most relevant. Let's go all comments. Here we go. One governor. I'll just start running through some of it, but that's Elite League, that's relevant. One governing body who actually voted for by the fans across the leagues in Great Britain, all funding from government to our sole governing body to be accounted for. Well, we kind of touched on that already. Next one down, one single governing body that can make sure the media knows all of the good things going on in our sport and will actually publish results tables in a timely fashion. The OPS, we're going to get onto that in a bit. But, you know, a lot of the stuff, this was interesting as well, like goalie training, making sure that there's goalie training for clubs, as opposed to just going out and, you know, just getting peppered with shots. How it's marketed to the public, more could be done to engage with both local communities and a wider audience to help grow the sport. Next one, a governing body that gets back to the basics of providing a good quality service. We don't even have a proper game management or league structure. I'm very new to hockey, but I've been closely involved in other sports. From what little experience I have, I think the sport is mission a single national governing body with clear and consistent rules of management, better pathways for juniors, you know, like a lot of stuff that we've kind of touched on already. But the board are all big boys and big girls. They can take one on the chin. Are they reading through that and going, okay, how can we take on board? Because ultimately, this is their members that are saying this.
yeah, I mean, I can only really speak for myself, but I read everything. You know, I've followed you for a few years, and I followed some of the other guys and girls out there for a few years, and that's kind of where you get a sense of what the community is thinking. And a lot of stuff you were listing there, that stuff is baked into our strategy.
Good.
So it's like, okay, well, I know that's kind of come out post strategy, but through our consultation, you know, through the chats that we've had, through the workshop we had when we kicked this off some 24 months ago, we knew what the community sentiment was, and we wanted to do something about it. And, you know, my boss in my day job used this analogy the other week. Like, governing bodies, they're either loathed or tolerated. That's your scale, you know?
Yeah.
And it's about getting as far down the pathway to being tolerated or even admired as you can. You know, as a body that, you know, does rules and governance and all of that fun stuff that we deal with on almost a daily basis, you know, you are open for scrutiny. You are
100%.
voted in by your membership. And it's always come back to, you know, we've never shouted about the positives that we actually do have. When you think about numbers of players we actually have, it's good.
Why is that though? Why are we not? Why are we
Because
not saying, yo, this is what we got? You know, okay, yeah, we fucked that up, but look, over here we've done this, which is exceptional. And I think you'll find most people will be
Yeah.
pretty fair. If you are doing genuinely good things, that's the news that the people want to hear. Because guess what? If you don't put the good news out there, that only leaves the bad news. And
Yeah.
when the bad news is all you hear and all people read, then
Well,
you're going to be up against it.
it's like I said earlier, it's all about strategy, and it's all about reporting it. It's all about, you know, we've got the data of players going back to the mid-90s. You know, I want to get that in a table. I want to get that properly analyzed. I want to get, you know, charts, peaks, understand, okay, well, we dipped COVID, we went down to X. How can we get back to that number? You know, what do we need to do? Where are the drop-offs? what's the transition like from 12s to 14s? And then when we do have those success stories where we've got under 10s or under 8s players going up by 10% or something, then we need to be talking to people about it. And we've always been reactive to delivering programs and initiatives. Well, now we're being proactive, and we're saying, okay, we've got it documented. Now we just got to go off and do all of this stuff. So we're not getting all comments about game management or about DOPS or whatever. And it's like, no, we're like, guys, we've got hundreds of players now in this system. We've got a great system working for game management. Things are on the up. Trust us and join us on this journey, because we've got to be in it together.
Oh yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Because if we're not, then we'll just go back to where we were.
Right, we've said DOPS about fucking 100 times yet, and we haven't actually got into it. So let's have it. Okay, then. So DOPS has not been fit for purpose. It's no secret, and obviously I've done a podcast with Shane Moore on the back of the Darcy Flanagan ban, 10-game ban for a hit to the head. Now, I'd spoke to Mike Maidens, who was kind of running DOPS at the time, alongside Barry Archer and George Ellison. George Ellison being the barrister, fucking barrister, whatever you want to say. I don't know if he's in or he's out or he's shaking all about. I do believe he is now no longer involved. But the whole way that situation in Oxford was handled was a disgrace. The sheer lack of professionalism, not even taking minutes of a meeting, like, come on, that's under 10 shit. Like, just dumb things like that. And the fact that it could continue to get worse for a couple of weeks, it kind of started to settle down a little bit. And then it's not been fit for purpose. There has been some horrendous takes coming out of there. I've seen it's kind of settled down a little bit. I believe they're probably going to get rid of the tier system as we go, because that's really not helping them. Tier system's been atrocious. It's capping people's decision making for them, when a smart decision that could be made by 4 or 5 guys getting around a video and actually reviewing things properly. Without going into too much detail about Department of Player Safety and what's to come, what could you say to people that are pissed off with the way it's gone for the last, say, 3-4 months here?
Yeah, I think now we've got a good opportunity to reset. The board are kind of working on the next steps for DOPS. Now's the time where you see the comments online, you see some of the feedback. It's almost a time, well, let's reset. Let's see where we're at, and let's see how we need to take this forward. Who's going to be at the helm of this, leading it? From what the community is saying, and my personal opinion, you need someone who's long in the tooth in the sport, knows the game better than most people out there, and understands the nuances. If you've been clipped and your body is going one way, but suddenly the angle is
stick comes that way,
and understands that sometimes things aren't necessarily intentional.
Yeah, he didn't chop him in the face. He lost an edge and his stick came back. That's 2 different things. Like,
yeah, and things like that happen.
I remember getting kicked out of a game, actually, and this was probably my most frustrating getting kicked out of a game ever. Away in Romford, stepped over the blue line, fired a slap shot, followed through. My follow through hit the D-man on the chin. He just stepped up to make the play. I'm taking an ice hockey shot. Like, there's zero malice, no malicious intent. But that was back in the day. If you cause blood, it was a 5+ game.
Yeah.
I said, I was shooting a puck. Like, I wasn't battling. I wasn't trying to hit. I wasn't doing anything. Ultimately, if I'd have then got that and it went back to this tier system, I'd have probably ended up getting sussied. Whereas, like you say, if you've got someone that's been in and amongst it, they're going to go, oh, watch the video. He just shoots a puck, he follows through, accidental blood, has to get 5+ game. You could start breaking it down. But if you just go by this is the tier, this is what you got to do, it's not going to work.
Yeah. So, we've got to reset, got to see where we're at, bring in new personnel. Again, it's not my sort of area of responsibility on the board. Obviously, I'm involved, and so forth. But, I'd love to see players involved. I've sat on a panel before, and it's kind of, it's quite interesting hearing from the players justifying actions, whatever it might be. There are a few big bans that have been served, and it's like, I can kind of see how they got to this situation, but sometimes 2 years of bans isn't necessarily the way to go.
No, it's never. It's generally never the way to go.
No, it's education.
Speaking for someone that's had an 8-year ban, sometimes I don't think massively long bans are necessary. We saw this one Nick Ritchie playing out in Finland this week. It's kind of split opinions online, but you can see he makes the hit in the corner. He gives the guy a few little rabbit punches in the corner. He ends up getting 8 games. Okay. From our social media, he should be in fucking jail. He should be getting hung off, Tower Bridge. And I was like, and if you look, it's a very new school type of fan that's saying that. But then you watch the people that played the game, they go, yeah, it's a bit cheap. 2+2, kick him out the game, maybe give him a couple of games sussy. But the next time he plays in your home rink, you're going to let him know that, hey, you come into our barn and you're not going to do that. Like, it kind of self-polices itself. But just the wide range of wild things that people say on the internet now does mean you have to I'll talk about reading comments and things like that. You kind of have to take the averages, don't you? Because some people are all there and some people are here. You kind of got to try and meet in the middle.
You've got to be consistent as well with the decision making. That's another thing that people are crying out for. But ice hockey isn't alone in these sorts of review systems, and when it comes to bans or when it comes to decisions that aren't wholly justified. I mean, look at football, look at VAR. Arsenal playing the other day, did the ball go out? Didn't it go out? It's such a fine line, and there's so much at stake nowadays that passions run high. I can't necessarily think of any other sports off the top of my head where they kind of have this sort of DOP system in place. But we're not alone as a sport. Everybody has it. I mean, motorsport, for example, we have issues with track limits. So people cutting corners to effectively gain an advantage. Well, you're going off the field of play. Yeah, that's like me, like.
Well, if there was a wall there, your car would be in bits.
Yeah, exactly. But people are trying to cheat the system, whatever it might be, and you got to find ways to police it fairly. You got to find ways. When you speak in motorsport terms, if sometimes people, when they've actually cut a corner, it's not because they're trying to gain an advantage. It's because someone's ramming them off.
They've moved them off. Yeah,
yeah, so exactly.
They took their racing line away from them.
Yeah,
it's either that or you go into the back of them because pile up. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's the same thing in sailing as well. There's rules and so forth in place, but people just want that consistency. And like I said, we got an opportunity now as a board to kind of reset, see where we're at. Obviously, there's the stuff with Mike and Barry and so forth, but we got a good bunch of people in the board who want to get this right. So
were the people on the board aware that the money, that £350 out of the £500 was going to George Ellison? Did the people on the board know that?
It's not one of the areas where I've been involved in that level of detail. Again, I can't really speak on behalf of anybody else. But I'm not in that detail. It's not my particular area when I'm looking for accounts and so forth. So I can't really comment too much on that.
No,
totally honest.
That's fair, mate. One more about that before we move on quickly. Obviously, Barry did step down after it was announced what had happened. If he hadn't have stepped down, would he have been been sacked off?
I
said sacked off, by the way, in case anyone's just driving along and didn't really hear that properly. Sacked off.
Barry made the right decision to step aside. And I think that kind of put an end to that before the board or anybody else was in a position
have to worry about it.
To have to worry about it. All I've got to go off of is various reports I've seen, and emotions sometimes run high. Barry,
hey, you're talking to me, mate. I'm not saying what Barry did was right, but you're talking to me. I could have done the same thing quite easily. I'm a hothead, so I could have easily done the same thing. I get it.
Yeah, I feel you. But honestly, Barry worked really hard with as chair of the board, and he put in a lot of hours and a lot of time.
It seems
Um,
his major mistake was getting his boy George Elson involved. He should have left him well alone, and I think he'd probably be a bit more respected from the members.
yep, yep.
Like, I'm not trying to be a dick about it, but he brings this guy in who effectively didn't have a Scooby. He ruined what could have been the Department of Player Safety was a great idea. It still could be a really fantastic tool in British hockey,
Yeah.
and it still has time to do that. I want to know, when is it going to be announced who's going to be taken over and who's going to be kind of leading the ship going forward.
Well, we got the first board meeting next weekend, where it will obviously be an agenda item. I've not read any of the papers yet, but I'll get my head into that, understand more of that, understand it from the team who are leading that, and then once we're kind of in a position to announce, we obviously people are keen and eager, and we want to get something out as soon as possible. I mean, there are obviously people who
Yeah, because I'm sitting on it right. I'm sitting on it right now, and it's killing me.
yeah,
So hurry up.
people are happy to throw their names into that, So yeah, it's one that the board are working on, and yeah, hopefully we get the right person in post, make the announcement, and yeah, kind of bring ourselves start to gain that trust and confidence in our
I,
processes.
and that's why I kind of want you guys to hurry up and announce it, because I think you're going to do yourself a lot of favors when you do announce it. I genuinely do, and I think you talk about like building that trust, having that relationship. I think when it gets announced, along with this new strategy, people will start to turn the corner. Obviously, there's loads of things that have got to happen in the meantime, and going forward, we've got to look. I know it's not strictly EIHA, it's Ice Hockey UK, who are the Great Britain national, but we can't be in the fucking 2A division for 9-10 years straight. It's a YouTube video we're going to be doing in the next coming weeks here. We've got all their results for the last 10 years, Dan, and it's bullshit. That's what it is. Let's call a spade a spade. I'll give you guys a bit of a rundown now, but so bearing in mind, you got to think the World Juniors is done on like the year after. So technically, this is the 2024 year. So this year, we lose to Latvia, not Latvia, sorry, South Korea. We lose to South Korea 4-3. We lose to Lithuania 5-4. So they finished 1 and 2 in that. We beat the 4th, 5th, and 6th place teams. Last year we finished tied top with Croatia. We lose on the fact that we lost head to head. We lost to the Croatia game. But again, Croatia being the best, highest ranked team in that, we lose to them. We beat the teams below. We go to 2012 in Brasov, Romania. We lose to Italy. We lose to Korea, the two teams that are ranked above us. We then beat Spain, Lithuania, Romania. Cancelled due to COVID in 2021. Vilnius, Lithuania, the year before. The highest ranked team, Japan. We lose to Japan. We finish second. We beat Romania. We beat Spain. We beat Lithuania. We beat the teams that we're expected to beat. Tallinn, Estonia. We finished third. We lose to Estonia. We shouldn't be losing ice hockey to Estonia ever. Not acceptable. Lithuania again. So we lose to the 2 top ranked teams in the thing. We beat the 3 bottom. Like there's this consistent thing over the last. We go to 2008 and 18. Dumfries lose 5-2 to Japan. Lose 5-4 against Korea. We beat Estonia. We beat Holland. We beat Romania. We need to be playing against France, Germany, Austria, Slovenia, Hungary. Not being able to beat South Korea and Japan and teams like that. How do the English ice hockey set these guys up being ready to get through to that GB18s, get through to that GB20s, and actually be good enough to compete at a higher level? Because we go back to when I was playing, I got relegated one year, and that was from Division 1A. So that was the pool below like the world champs. So it was legit. We got fucking smoked. I can't explain to you how we got drilled. Like we played Germany, Latvia. We were playing like pool A nations. We got spanked, but it was amazing. Like nothing I've ever been a part of. The next year we go down. We got Lithuania and a few other teams. We come straight back up. Like it was straight back up. No hanging around in that division. It just, I don't know. How do
Yeah.
we sort it out, mate?
If you want to be the best, you got to play the best, haven't you?
Yeah,
So it's a bit of a, you got kind of got yourself a bit of a blank sheet of paper on this one. Like what does good development look like? I mean, we've spoken about that, kind of focus on the small-sided game, like the individual skills and so forth to improve the quality of the players. But is there more that we can do to boost the national team in terms of them playing together? Would they benefit from more away days, more
yeah,
tournaments,
yeah,
more time on ice? Because
yeah.
the
Yes, yes,
more,
yes to
yeah,
all of the things you just said. Yeah.
the more that team plays, but then it's also about also having a pool of good quality players where
Have
you
40
could,
players to pick from instead of 20.
yeah,
Realistically, that GB roster, they're picking out 27 guys, 28 guys for a 22-man squad.
yeah,
Really? There's probably 4 or 5 other guys that might have been in the mix. But then after that, it's low. Whereas what Canada, they could pick an A team, a B team, a C team, a D team, and an E team. They could
yeah,
all go, their E team could go to the World Championships and compete.
yeah.
Like, whereas if we could just say almost have a B team, like enough guys in that are just about there that can really push on and push through.
Yeah, it's just getting that development and making sure you've got a big pool to pull in from. So guys on, who think they're a mainstay on the roster, well, that you want them to be twitchy.
Yeah, yeah.
You don't want them to be comfortable if they're on second line or third line or whatever, thinking, yeah, this will be me. I'll play 18s, then I'll play a bit of 20s, maybe I'll go international or elite league, maybe one day I might play seniors and so forth. You want people to be twitchy and worrying about their spot on the team. But it's a long process to get that pull. It starts from an early age. You focus on your junior development, you get them up to a level, you get them on the pathway, you have a good pathway for all players, whether in the system. That's when I think you start to see change. If we can get it right at a junior level, I think that's when you'll then see it start kind of filtering up to the 18s, 20s. Um, in again, kind of referencing motorsport, we've recently launched a campaign to try and boost female participation with the
Okay.
goals of having a female driver on the F1 grid or on GT World Challenge or whatever it is, an international
Like
series,
high
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 level,
level of
yeah.
sport. Yeah.
So we've got this scheme where we're Discover Your Drive, where we try and unearth girls who are 8 to 12, get them involved in indoor karting. If you've got the natural talent, then you can then kind of go on from there, and we'll support you in the pathway through karting,
Yeah,
through
it's
bigger
great.
karts, through arrive and drive, ultimately up to bigger cars, single like Formula 4, Formula 3, Formula 2,
Yeah.
into Formula 1 or wherever it might be.
I mean that would be great. Just touch on something you say like away days. Obviously, I've been doing road tripping. If anyone's been watching, following along, just how easy it is. So let's use Vienna as a hub. So you could drive there, you could fly there, you could do whatever you want. You could take 20 odd lads out there into Vienna. They could play a game in Austria. They could shoot within 2.5 hours on a train over to Budapest, play a game in Budapest, back to Austria. Half hour the day after, you're over in Bratislava. You could be taken on the Slovaks. Come back down the next day, hour on the train, you're in Brno. So there you go. You could play 4 nations in 5 days if it was really organized very well. And the travel's not hectic. It's all like in and amongst each other. It's no different like the travel would be for a national league player that plays for Slough at Bees, sorry, that has to go to Romford 1 week, Sheffield, Leeds. In fact, it's probably closer. But just from watching some of these nations, and when I've been out in Europe, I've tried to try and get to some of the junior games in amongst it. You see the talent they have, and you see the competitive, and you see what's going on. How good it would be to then compete against those nations. Do you know what? Yeah, we get smoked against Slovakia, against Czech, and against um, Austria probably. So what? At least you're going to learn so much playing against good teams. And then when it comes round to some of these guys being ready to step up to 18, to 20s, to national, they've played against these kids since they were 16. You go, oh, we're now playing Pool A against Germany. Oh, I remember when we played them in when we were 18, we played them over there, and things like that would go a long way to improving it.
Yeah, it's like we said, you know where your level's at. Like if you're going to get better, you've got to play against the best, because it's like, well, that's your ceiling there at the moment, playing in the UK or whatever level you're at is there. But then suddenly, like your ceiling goes up there, and your game gets better because
Yeah.
you're playing against taller guys, stronger guys, more technically stronger players. So you're like, all right, I need to do a bit more to myself to improve. So, yeah, it's time on ice. Getting involved a lot more will certainly go a long way.
Right, Dan, we kept you for almost 2 hours. Is there anything that you feel that we've kind of missed off that you kind of want to wrap up with? Is there any other information you want to tell the viewers?
No, I think we've covered quite a lot there, Nicky.
We
As
did.
you
We
say,
smashed it, mate.
as you say, that was a good 2 hours. But just thanks for having me on and giving me an opportunity to kind of run people through what we're up to. And this time next year we should dial in again.
100%.
We can report back on where we're at. We've been saying we're going to do this. Well,
Yeah.
this is where we need the independent folk out there like yourselves, like the others, to actually have a look at what we're doing and hold our feet to the fire. And if you think we're doing some good stuff, then celebrate. If there's things that you think, all right, you guys, come on, we need to see this, then hold our feet to the fire. And
Well, I
that's what.
think the fact that you've come on is a big starting point in that. I know at some stage I'll be sitting down with Martin Peters, potentially Alan Moultrie as well. So, the information is going to start to get out there, but that communication platform's not being there previously. It seems to be starting to be now. I think that is going to go a long way to help English ice hockey.
Perfect. Thanks for that, Nicky. Appreciate it.
Not a problem. Right, ladies and gents, you know what to do. Hit subscribe, follow, like, share, do all that good stuff. Have a very, very good New Year's Eve. Stay safe wherever you are. And just like to finish off by just dedicating this last episode of 2023 to Mike Urquhart, Mike Hammond, Alex Graham, Adam Johnson, and Ray Sawada. 5 lads that we sadly lost this year. All great lads, and we're just thinking of them and their families as we head into 2024. We will see you for another episode very, very soon. Peace.